gaming stream in quite some time now because you did move, but glad to have you today, man.
Glad to be here. Finally, about time.
Yeah,
You're
dude, about
realizing
time.
you're missing my voice on this stream, dude.
You're actually the only person who's technically qualified, like to be like broadcasting via education.
That's true. I did graduate with that. The degree is like hanging right above my computer, actually.
Very
How's
nice.
that going for you?
Well, I do have a job interview at Kohl's coming up, so that's where my degree is going.
Oh boy. Well, today we have actually what I would say is
That's fantastic.
it is pretty fantastic. I like that. Not the Coles thing, but like it was pretty
Dude,
clever.
Kohl's is my shit though.
Dude, they got good sales. Good stuff.
Yeah, as a just lift up the curtain a little bit before we get into our main topic. If you're a commentator that's a ball fan, shop at Kohl's.
Yeah, dude, actually, like that's like probably good travel wear. That's like a little pro
Dude.
tip.
Literally every one of the shirts that I wear on commentary, I've bought at Kohl's in the last like 6
So
months.
you're telling me to not go to Kohl's?
Yeah, I gotta go.
This isn't the best advertising, bro.
Yeah, man, Kohl's good. They've got the deals, man. And you want sportswear, you want anything in between. That's what Kohl's got.
Damn.
I
thought you
swear,
said you were replying. I didn't know they trained you already.
he's actually already sponsored.
Yeah, this podcast is sponsored by Kohl's Cash.
Dude, I kind of wish. I kind of wish. But anyhow,
It's my money.
I don't have a good segue into the topic, so I'm just gonna go ahead and dive right into it. This was actually going to be a podcast initially that was going to be about Smash Melee and its future, but then it just kind of seemed like not super interesting to just make a podcast about Smash Melee. So then I think we've kind of unanimously decided that there is going to be an interesting future moving forward for Smash that won't only have implications on Melee, but like obviously Smash 4, I think we could kind of count that game out at this point in terms of like vanishing from all competitive forums, much like Brawl.
Yeah.
But like Melee is something that's a little bit different because that has actually survived a few generations worth of Smash. But we did see a pretty big retirement last week with Armada, which is kind of what interested me in this topic to begin with, because I think that has like a lot of implications.
Yeah. So we didn't get to talk about this much last week because there was obviously a lot going on with the direct and a whole lot of other stuff. So but yeah, the news dropped last week that Armada said that he's gonna stop from for Melee singles, which is hiring from the more or less. And that's like super huge because I did a joke in Smash, and I'm sure Law can speak to this, but like you never really retire from playing Super Smash Brothers. So
I can't relate, but yeah.
of course. But yeah, this is kind of huge, and I feel like this made a good topic going into obviously a new game because a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to have like implications on what's going to happen like moving forward in the Ultimate, and we're going to be moving into a new Smash game with like not only Smash 4's top player being retired for almost an entire year in Zero, but also probably without Armada. And lessons are interesting. I feel like Melee's in slightly more turmoil because I feel like just because of the way that the top Melee players have all been like received the last few months, like Mango's kind of taken a step back from competing. I think I read somewhere that Hungrybox is entering the workforce again.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and Armada's retiring. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that could happen atop the main. I feel like the players that got by Zero are like kind of filled those spots nicely, like Tweak and MKLeo. So I feel like I don't know. It's kind of an interesting spot that both games are in right now regarding like the top of their talent pool.
Well, yeah, so the top guys of Melee, as you mentioned, are kind of out. And Hungrybox, it's funny, is I actually saw he was going back to the workforce. I believe he's got like a pretty good job as an engineer, if I have that correctly.
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of engineer, but despite the fact, I do recall not that long ago, maybe a year, 2 years ago, he actually quit that job saying, like, I'm going to take a full go at this Melee thing and be a pro gamer. And I think we saw him do some commentary for Smash 4. I don't know if he ever did any for Melee. I'm going to go ahead and guess that he probably did. And sort of like tried to compete in Smash 4, and then it looks like he's now cycled back to having a job. And the tricky part is I guess like a player like Hungrybox wasn't quite as dominant in Smash 4 just because like his playstyle loaned really well to Melee, right? So it just didn't quite translate. So on top of like that, like it sort of just sounds like even despite being on top of like Smash Melee's game, there's not quite enough there to really sustain like a career, I guess we'll call it, within esports, just specifically in Melee. And despite like the differences in the game, even with Smash Ultimate about to come out, you got to imagine some of that Melee audience is going to be traveling to Ultimate and away from Melee. And it remains to be seen if any of these guys who quit, like Armada,
Right.
he did go to the Invitational for Smash Ultimate, and he did well enough. So like it does make you wonder if he's either going to travel to that or just simply getting out of Melee, which kind of feels like it's dying.
I don't really think Melee's dying per se. I just think that with the era of the five gods exiting, it's kind of opening that door for guys like Zane, Left, and Plup, even Wizzy, Amsa, SFAT, SUJ. Like they've always been those guys that are like on the cusp, but because of the five gods, they've never like had that chance to break in. When you have five of those players and eventually six with Levin occupying six of the top 8 spots, you don't really see like a lot of those guys break through and beat them that much. But now that era is like come to a close, you see a lot of the Plup, Zane, Leffen type of guys and Wizzy being able to make it to the top. And I think that is what's going to help Melee without Armada, because then you'll be able to see more of these new faces. There are going to be more people saying, well, if Armada's gone, maybe I can be good enough to like break through next if I practice enough. So I think there's motivation in that and not really towards the game dying, in my opinion.
So, I'll go ahead, Law.
I think it's gonna be like the next big test for Melee's like survival, because like I don't think it'll die at all, but like their community is so dedicated now, and like I think Ultimate will help them as well, get more people. I know people are, Melee's cooler, and then switch to that. And I almost got into Melee from Smash 4, but I just looked it up about almost 10 years ago now is when in 2009. So it's almost like a decade later, we're going to the new generation of like, let's see if this game has the guts to get a new and move forward, because we haven't gotten to like season 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just to like echo what you it's really weird because like the gods of Melee old like can like still kind of compete to some sort of level. So like it's really weird. It's gonna be taking a complete like step back, like you said. And there is a home for these guys in Smash Ultimate, because I feel like that's what would make Nintendo like super duper happy, because like as someone that's actually commentated with Hungrybox before in Smash 4, I could say that he's really like smart about the game. Like he knows what he's talking about, and I feel like he would have a home in this community or another. But it's one of those things where I feel like it's like the stigma that Melee players only know how to play Melee, and I feel like if those guys were to like, I feel like they all could be top players in another game. It's just going to be a matter of them like dividing up that time, because obviously that's a very large thing to ask of people. But yeah, both games are in a very interesting spot right now, like ML was saying. Like, and I think the thing for me that was the most exciting about the last year of Melee is how diverse it was. We talked about it a lot. Shine episode. Zane was the 15th winner ever of a major tournament in Melee, and Armada was the only person this tournament to win multiple events. Like there's been a bunch of players that have won their first majors ever, or just like different people popping up all over the place. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the game moves forward through the rest. Will you show?
So I guess my big question with Melee is I don't know, it just seems like it seems like more of an effort now to kind of like get it going, and locally like there isn't a lot of attraction there, but I do think that a lot of the attention did come from the personalities, aka the gods, the guys like Armada, like Hungry Box, like Leffen. Like that was a lot of the life of this game. Those guys who were pretty dominant for years and kind of on it. So I do wonder if the motivation for a Melee player to be, to get better and get on that stage, I don't know if it's quite there, because you got to imagine that, like, especially with Ultimate coming out and that sort of being the wave and losing, I don't know. It's tricky because once Ultimate comes out, it could take some of Melee's draw and even take some of its players. And I guess it still remains to be seen just how the gameplay captivates the Melee audience, since Melee is kind of its own unique factor. But I got to imagine a lot of the sponsors, especially the ones that do work with Nintendo firsthand, are going to be more towards Ultimate, kind of like Ultimate tournaments and Ultimate focused events versus like throwing any kind of real investment towards Melee, just out of interest for just, business as usual for Nintendo. Obviously, have a new game, you want to push it. And we did see them invite a lot of the Melee guys to the Invitational. So like to me, it seems like even from Nintendo, you would kind of want to see, they would want to see the audience essentially go from Melee to Ultimate.
Well, yeah, of course. You don't want to they don't want to push an old game because they're not making any money off of Melee. Like obviously they want people to play Melee because it's like, it's good for Nintendo. It's like people will watch Melee and they're like, I don't want to play Melee though, so I'll buy Ultimate. So you don't want to keep pushing this old game where you're not going to get any revenue off of it either though. So you're always going to push the newer stuff.
And that's my thought, because like if now you have all the personalities leaving, or even having some of the personalities go towards Ultimate, what's the real incentive for a player to really want to get good at Melee other than just being in like playing Melee, which still might be a thing, but like it becomes even more niche than it already has become. And if there's one thing that's for sure, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, is something like Smash 4 seemingly, I just can't imagine it having any real life after Ultimate's released. I mean, I know even in New Jersey there isn't a single Smash 4 tournament planned. I don't think there's going to be one planned really anywhere outside of maybe like SmashCon next year, which does all the Smash games.
It's going to get the Brawl treatment.
Right, which is a game that we saw die. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised to see modded versions of 4 become popular, since Smash 4 has been being modded now for, a couple years.
Yeah.
And it did even have a Melee mod to it. If, I don't know if everyone in...
That thing's trash.
It's trash. It is definitely trash, but
it's garbage.
It did exist.
Effort,
yeah, like it was a good hustle, and people kind of dug it for a minute. I think I even played it at some point. But yeah, so you gotta imagine, like I feel like it's just sort of this is a pretty big step towards what happened to Brawl and what's inevitably going to happen to Smash 4.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing that saved Melee for the longest time was the fact that they had this whole like lore of the gods, which like I'm gonna be real with you, like as someone that's like been in the scene for a minute now, the whole gods concept is like super fucking cheesy.
Agreed.
Like looking back at it now, like I'm just like, okay, like we get it, because like when I was like doing research for this episode, I looked up how long I've been like watching Melee, and 2012 was like 6 years ago. Fun fact, Koopa stats. But like, like that's when I like jumped into like the scene, and it's a couple of episodes ago where like the community was like every tournament's top 3 is like Mewtwo King, Armada, and Mango in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
and, like I said, like just like you can't stay at the top of your game for that many years without seeing some sort of drawback, which is probably what's happening right now.
And like it's also just it really does remain to be seen just how I guess Melee players do take to Smash Ultimate. But even if I don't know, for me it's really hard to imagine Melee like living forever, and like I don't doubt that it'll get a couple more years, and I'm not going to say it's dead, even though I kind of have been implying it. But I don't know. Like once you lose the personalities behind it, like we've seen Smash 4 struggle just to develop personalities. We've seen personalities develop, but like I don't know. Basically, you think about its biggest personality at 1.0. When he retired, the game sort of did take a small hit too. That was sort of the era when Bayonetta kind of took onto the scene and no one was able to beat it, except for MKLeo, who eventually started using Bayonetta himself. And like that sort of like indirectly, it definitely didn't kill Smash 4, but like it did take a lot of momentum out of its trajectory at the time. Like seeing the top player retire and that was just one person in 4. Makes a big impact.
I don't think Smash 4 is ever driven by the personalities like this is. Like Melee's mostly made up of fans. Like I feel like Smash 4 is mostly players, and everybody hated Bayo.
Yeah.
And then Zero quit, and we all knew that was why. Like I don't think you could argue, but I think that's why. And he didn't like. I don't think he looked where the meta was going, and he just wasn't having fun with it. Like I think it all added up, and then he quit, and then everybody's like, "Dang, you know, so then it's just like, dang, I don't know, like, there's nothing to stop the hate anymore.
Well,
Because throughout the entirety of Smash 4, we had like, you'd complain about something, and Zero would just destroy them, and just like, all right, I can't hate Fox because he's bodying Larry every single time they play. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there's not that anymore.
Well, one thing I wanted to add to what you said, that Melee is made up mostly of fans. I think that's actually very true. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, Smash 4 is dying, but like in like record numbers entrance, but like the viewership isn't as big. Like a lot of people actually just like to play Smash 4. Like it's just the truth. And I think if Ultimate like does like appeal to both markets, we might see people like just switch over. Like it's very possible. And like there is some mechanics that like are similar to Melee, but obviously are not as free reign, like the wave landing and stuff like that, or whatever it is really. But there is ability for crossover more than, let's say, from people who play Brawl and Melee. Like Melee players were not going to go to Smash 4. Like it's too similar to Brawl than it was to Melee. But Ultimate kind of feels like that, kind of the in between, which has been said about every Smash game since. But we'll see. It's interesting.
But this even more so, like you said, because it's very clear, like when they dedicate a whole like 10 minutes of their own direct reveal to talk about like in-game tech, like it's very clear that they're trying to like bring over the people that are looking for more of that competitive bite. Because I personally don't like the brawl air dodge. I think it's like scrubby, and like they scrubbed it clean, kind of sorta, and like air dodges are so like way too easy. So a change like that, I really appreciate. And like someone brought this up to me like in a car ride once, where they're like, I feel like the change to where you can like act instantly out of a dash is almost kind of them trying to cater to people that like wave dash all the time. So it's like, oh, instead of me wave dashing back to punishes, I'm just gonna run the opposite way and forward smash you. That's definitely something that they're trying to appeal to. And I think the thing that gets overlooked the most about Melee versus Smash 4 is that the newer, like, the more like high tech these games get, like the harder it's gonna be for Melee to survive. Because like you said earlier, Hungry, like Nintendo's not making like Melee because they stopped making the game years ago, and you see CRTs are becoming increasingly harder to find and like transport. And I feel like Melee's logistics are going to be the big problem for it moving forward, more so than the player base, because are going to watch Melee still. It's just like if the technology becomes too archaic for them to keep moving forward with.
I really agree with that whole argument right there, because especially with the Ultimate with Ultimate coming out, you think about how simplified the setup is. Everyone technically will be having a setup that day if they own a Switch, just because people are going to want to get as many games as possible, and the Switch being so portable, that can happen. So like tournaments are going to be filled with people on main setups that have Switches connected to monitors, and you'll have people bringing their own setups, and there's really not going to be really any logistical nightmare. It's a lot simpler than bringing in, as you mentioned, a CRTV and a modded Wii or a GameCube if you happen to have one. Like it's just, we're talking about equipment that is no longer manufactured. Like it's not going to get any easier to get. In fact, with time, it's going to get a lot more difficult. And that is like a big deal for especially bigger tournaments spreading out.
what's the last year everyone remembers having a CRT in their house? I think mine is like 2006.
Yeah, we actually had one in our basement that we just left when we moved because it's so heavy. I think it was probably like 300 pounds, and we're just like, yeah, we're gonna leave this here.
Dude,
Dude,
And that
probably-
TV probably dates to like 1995.
I had a small one hanging in the corner of my room, and I took it down because I was like, I don't use this thing at all. I swear, I was like, I put it on my chest, and I was leaning back, and this thing almost like knocked me over, and I was standing at the top of my bed. I was like, bruh. And they're front heavy too. Like it's not, there's nothing in the back. I swear.
Yeah,
it's all front glass.
It's
Yeah,
literally a tube.
thick
Like it's
glass.
like a thick tube where it like hangs out in the front. It has like the little part in the back with all like the wires. Like it's old technology, man. Like this stuff is all flat now. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, that was that premier shit back in the mid 90s.
Yeah, dude.
Flat screen, boy.
Dude. Yeah, if you get a PS2 and a CRT in your Nickelodeon hotel reservation. It's like the 90s. Yeah, and that's something that I find like really funny about Melee is that like for me personally as a competitor, like watching Melee on a stream is great. I think Melee makes great background noise, and it's topical because like there wasn't any like huge Smash 4 tournament this weekend outside of that thing in Texas that Biddy went to, but Melee had a pretty sizable tournament this weekend. But the thing that's like infuriates me the most is when I'm watching Melee like live, like at a tournament. Imagine playing in tournament and you're playing on a setup that's massive, and then playing on a fucking security camera TV like within an hour of itself. Like that shit would piss me off, man. Like I don't understand how people can like put up with like different screen resolutions and sizes, and some idiot put a magnet to his TV 6 years ago so the colors are all faded. Like I can't.
Well, to me,
And then there's just
to me,
Bob and Hello Kitty ones.
oh my God, yeah, we see those locally. Actually, I forget who has one of those, but I've seen it several times at like an MHD event. That Hello Kitty TV. But I will say though, yeah, like Melee, like pardon the expression, like it's not getting any younger. Like it's gonna be difficult to keep up like the I guess we'll call it the infrastructure or the overall like physical entities required to run a tournament. It really falls into a niche category now, which I guess would be retro gaming, which is popular. People, I even know a few podcasts I've seen where the people kind of coin themselves as like video game preservationists. And I think that'll eventually be the niche that it hits. It was its own kind of unique niche. And then, like, I think it's going to become now a subcategory of that. But, like, I guess we'll see with time. I mean, it is really hard to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say, does Melee technically qualify as a retro game at this point?
I mean,
Like, because I know there's like a certain
17
age
years old at this point.
like, I want to say the threshold's like 16.
Yeah, I'd say like 20-ish is usually where retro begins to like become its own thing. Because Melee's almost old enough to go to college by this point.
yeah, that's true.
Here's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Are you friends with someone that is younger than Melee?
Yeah, there are people playing Smash 4 that weren't alive when Melee was first released.
So yeah, it's an old game.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, man, I actually remember my first job. I was working at a camp, and that was I'd played obviously Melee before that, but the camp basically just had like several GameCubes and PS2s, just like keep the kids busy in like an air conditioned room when they weren't outside. And Melee was like the main game there, and it was basically kids just camping with Link and just like abusing the C stick with like Fox and Falco. But like that was back when it was new, and I think about how long ago that was. Like, yeah, it's an old game, man. Like I would call it retro at this point. I mean, the GameCube is several generations ago.
So what you're saying, everyone at your camp was Glenn?
Yeah, I remember one kid specifically who would literally he would just like tether grab the stage and then pause, and then he would just say, "Just hanging around." Would pause in the middle of the game.
Oh no!
And it was terrible.
That's actually a Glenn thing to do.
Oh my God, it was the worst, man.
I hope that kid got like slime.
But yeah, so I don't know. the future of Melee, I'm going to put in my closing remark now. I personally, I know I don't want to be a sensationalist, and I know I don't want to say it's dying. It's going to survive, and there's going to be the younger players that you see who are still looking for their moments in the spotlight, and that's going to keep it alive because there's never been a better time if you're in Melee, seeing all the top heads leaving and seeing a moment for yourself to kind of rise up. But time is definitely against them. Technology is definitely against them, and just the overall wave of Ultimate. Because that has everything that all the other games had. Like, it's intended to basically replace everything with every possible way between stages, characters, and then some.
Yeah. And like my closing remarks on this are just pretty much echoing everything we've all been saying. Is that like we said earlier, Melee is a very personality-driven game. Like the lore of the gods and how like they only beat each other, and like the up and comers of like Plup and Zane, Wizzy, and all these guys on the come up. I feel like Melee's definitely. I don't want to say it's dying. I feel like the gods like era is just kind of coming to an end. Like, I feel like they're gonna have to write new storylines to keep people entertained, which is why I thought the roast of Hugs was a fucking fantastic idea for a tournament, because
that was
like
I actually wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it this weekend, and like the tournament itself was fun. Like I thought it was a lot of fun to watch, but like I love stand up. Like that's a fun fact, stand up comedy, and the concept of roasting like celebrity roasts like that are like some of my favorite things to watch on Comedy Central. So I thought it was really good. I laughed more than I didn't. I don't know if any of you if you guys like caught tidbits
I
of it
thought
or
it was
not.
hilarious too.
So it's
Like
this could probably segue to another topic. Speaking of which, if you guys wanted to do that, but I know ML did mention he wanted to say a little bit more about the Hugs roasting. But I guess what I'm getting at is I did see the comparison on Twitter. Basically, if the Smash 4 audience would be able to handle something similar to the roasts that we saw in.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
No,
There's one.
So at all.
There's one answer to that, but
God.
I do think it's a pretty fun thing to transition to as we move on a little bit from this.
Yeah. And Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah, I just think that the thing with Melee against Smash 4 for that is that Melee has those 10 plus years of in stories to build up for a roast of Hugo, where you got guys going on Twitter and Smash 4 and crying when they're called bad. So take that as you will. When Hugo's getting roasted in front of thousands of people watching on Twitch about these personal stories that no one's ever heard before, and he's laughing along with it, compared to if he sat down like Mistake in front of people and you called him bad and then he starts crying, you've got a whole fiasco on your hands.
Man, that actually it does.
Ludwig was good.
So
he was great.
So it's funny though. So like stuff like this is essentially what keeps Melee alive, right? Because maybe this is the argument I've been missing this whole time, and I'm just thinking of as I'm watching this roast a little bit. Melee has an older audience just by virtue of being an older game. It's just what it is, right? So then Smash 4 has a younger audience by virtue of being a newer game, and then Ultimate will have an even more young audience along with what comes over from Smash 4. But the thing about Melee is like it has dudes who are grown men, like they've experienced some life, and like they play Melee as as like a thing that they do, and it just turns out that people really like it. But they could do things like roast, and they don't take it super seriously, and they have fun with it. Whereas like this can't happen in Smash 4, so it kind of makes it not as interesting because you're just like, man, I don't really want to cheer. Like this doesn't feel like a sport if I could cheer and really hurt someone's feelings. Like that's just like a
getting upset at the booing and everything at Evo.
And add to that is that I saw some complaints on Twitter from people saying that like they thought like it's like we're kind of going too far. Like I saw someone say that they got offended by the fact I made a Home Depot joke, and my response to those people is that like here's the I've almost every one of the single like I've seen a lot of the Comedy Central roasts. Like if you want to have your feelings hurt, don't watch one of those. Like it's all fun and games until somebody calls David Hasselhoff a Nazi, or like something like crazy like that. Like that shit's the norm for roast. I think what is that like cover your ears and make sure you're not around your parents when I repeat this verbatim. But this one comedian said that Joseph Gordon-Levitt looks like he eats pussy with the crust cut off, and I thought that was the funniest fucking thing I've heard in my entire life. Like those jokes that just teeter like slightly on the way too much funny. And I thought Law mentioned earlier, but that Ludwig guy, like he fucking killed it. That shit was so funny, and like in my opinion, feel again because I feel like even with another Melee player, because I feel like Smashers have such a very like niche sense of humor that they'll always tie it somehow back into Smash. And I feel like that are like I can show enough. Yeah, I can only hear I applaud he's done like getting a job at NASA and doing all the Smash stuff, but my man does not have a career in stand up. Like, that was bad. And like I feel like the way that the jokes like tied back was some of it stuck. Like the jokes that were funny, but a lot of the times I was just kind of rolling my eyes and I'm just like, this would make like my mom or somebody. Like, and I think that's the beauty of comedy is that most people can. But I do think it was a fun time. It was a great viewer experience, and if they did it again, I hope Smash 4 does not jump on this train.
Yeah,
because the people just flat out aren't ready for this.
Yeah, I don't think we need to copy Smash 4 and Ultimate every like with the Summit. VGBC had the boot camp thing, which is supposed to be like how Beyond the Summit does for Smash Melee, which they actually have a summit coming up in November, so I'm excited for. But yeah, the boot camp thing, I didn't think it was that great, honestly, because it's one of those things where they do the skits, they invite the players, they fly them out, they have them in this house or whatever, and it just wasn't. It didn't have that same kind of effect that like the Melee Summit has for me as a viewer.
Oh, are you talking about the boot camp videos from like a year plus ago, or whenever that was? Is that...
Yeah, the Smash 4 boot camp.
Oh my god, that stuff was painful, man. I gotta be honest with you. I'm not even trying to throw shots. It was just like,
yeah, it just
a fact.
You could tell that they were trying to copy how Summit does their stuff, but Summit it's so high quality what they have. They've got amazing production staff. All the Melee players that they bring out, they've got like the personalities, just a huge thing from Summit. You got to be like entertaining in some sort of way. Even like even Crush was like, he's viewed as this boring guy, but he's got like godlike Twitter, and when he was in the sketches, like his deadpan humor is just so good. It fits perfectly.
One thing that I wanted to add about the Summit and VGBC thing is it's a little subtle, but everyone at the boot camp looked bored, and at the Summit, everyone looks like they were like in the middle of a party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like people were actually hanging out.
That's
the team beer and everything.
That's a great point. And you know what the reality of that is obviously the boot camp stuff, as you might see it on the screen if you're watching this. It was scripted, like it's skits. You know what I mean? It's like it's stuff that you have to do for like acting class in high school that you have to take for some credits, but you just don't want to do it. You know, versus like being in like a skit being in like a roast where it's just like genuine stuff and you're just talking about dudes that you know from playing Smash and like some stuff about each other and like you have fun. Like it's more grown humor, and that lends itself to like just a bigger and more diverse audience versus, as you mentioned before, like the niche audience that Smash 4 now has.
Yeah, I don't know, that skit right there when they're like the sergeant walking up, it reminded me of like, I was like, dude, all these kids are so young. It looks like the Lord of the Flies when they get back from the island or something.
I'm gonna keep it real. Fun is the alcohol.
Yeah,
and it's hard. Like it's just like Melee is a frat house and charter school.
Man,
like,
yeah,
that's a good way of putting the boot camps.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to take shots at anybody either, but like I said it a couple weeks ago on one of the episodes, I forget which one, but like it's just like a lot of the top personalities in the games are just the game, and they're funny. When it comes to like putting that into like a production thing, it's like it doesn't always translate well. and like you get those beans, you get those every now and then players in Melee too. Like Mewtwo King is still like as interesting as stale bread, like for the most part, but but like a lot of like it's just the case of the game again being much more character like personality driven uh first, and it helps that they're all good at the game too, and the game's a lot of fun to watch. The story writes itself. Like Smash 4 like had the longevity of like, let's say Ultimate wasn't coming out and we had to play this for another 10 years, then sure, maybe we'd get those trials and tribulations one day, but it's you can't I feel like everyone microwave Melee content stuff, and it's just not gonna work out that way. But the content that we get on both sides is really good. I feel like we should just do our own thing and let Melee do their own thing. And if the Venn diagram crosses at some point or crossover, then so be it.
Agreed. I think everyone wonders why, or not. I mean, I don't think anyone really wonders, but like the viewer base is definitely much better in Melee than it is in Smash 4, and that's still the case to Smash 4's end, and Melee's not sure where they are in their timeline. But in either case, like Smash 4 was never able to overcome that viewership difference. Like it's just, and the difference is significant. And yeah, it is for a lot of the things that we just mentioned. It's just something gets a little lost in translation. I do think things get a little forced, and I also think that just the overall maturity of the players in Melee, it just loans to better content in general. Because people, I would say the most interesting part about Smash in general, being a grassroots kind of project by a lot of people, is that it intertwines a lot with your own reality and kind of how you deal with your existence, as well as contributing to like the Smash universe, is sort of an interesting thing in itself. Like I don't think it really requires skits or anything like that. I think everyone gets a little nervous to like kind of embrace themselves, except for like Melee sort of did exactly that. Like they're all being kind of real with each other, and some guys do well enough with sponsorships to make money and have a career in it. Other guys end up going back to their old jobs, and then other guys just kind of go to tournaments when they can. But at the end of the day, they can do a roast and they all have fun.
Yeah. Or in the very rare fourth case, sometimes your hands just break because the game like ruins your health long term.
Yeah, well, the GameCube controller is not really known for its ergonomic benefits to anyone's hands. That's for sure.
Yeah, because even Smash 4 players, like even James, like his hands are just bad.
Yeah,
and he doesn't
yeah. Shout out to Hacks, man.
Yeah. The box.
So
300-page document that he wrote.
That'll be our 300th episode. The box.
Well, yeah. So
transcript.
I don't know what you guys are thinking on the rest of the future, but I for one sort of just see so much attention going from 4 to Ultimate, and just seeing that kind of snowball with all the other audiences. But
I think the big telling is going to be, I think we'll see how the state of the union for Smash goes around Genesis next year, because Genesis has a lot of history with Melee, and in more recently with Smash 4 and Brawl also. I think that'll be a good like measuring stick to see how the communities are going, like see how much crossover there is, see how much individual, like how entrance each game gets. But it's one of those things we're gonna have to wait and see how everything.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree with Genesis being the big one, because they still got the Big House is the last really like multi-game major of the year until Genesis.
Yeah, well,
and that's
GTX
in like
also,
another month ish. Oh yeah, GTX. Yeah, I forgot about GTX. But I think Big House 8 also. Those two are going to be really telling too for the end of Melee, how that goes without Armada.
We shall see.
It's also weird that it's like Armada. If it was one of the other guys, like I guess HBox and Armada are the only ones. Like Armada's like really for a long time was the only true quote unquote god, because dude never lost to like anybody else. Like he literally never lost to anybody else.
Yeah, when he lost
to Plup,
Swedish.
Right? Or Swedish.
Well, he lost to Plup, and then he lost to Swedish to Light at Evo.
Damn.
That was best of 3.
Yeah.
But that was for like after like a decade, man. Like
Yeah, he was the only
Like, those are the
like,
exceptions to the
top
rule, but
6
like
player.
like if like Mango or Hungrybox or anybody else got upsetted, it was like, oh damn, it's an upset. But you almost never ever heard that happen to Armada. It was
Yeah.
not even close to the amount of record he had.
Dang. And
Yeah,
eventually
it
he got
was-
took by a dude that was in Spitzy's frat. Ouch.
Yeah, got by a Spitzy minion, man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually two stats I feel like we can like leave on, and just to like because to bring it all back to Armada, and obviously you hanging it up, but number one, like Hungry just brought it up, like Armada, I think the stat was the last time Armada lost to someone that wasn't like one of the top 5 players was like back in like 2012 or some crazy shit or
I
something
think it
like
was
that.
2000, yeah,
And-
2012 or 2010.
Yeah, it was it was a very long time. The Sheik player from Europe, and I pulled up an article from Polygon that like talked about Armada, and it said across let's see, it's just like talking about like mostly his double stuff, but like it says like across 60 competitive teams tournaments, Armada's placed first in 42 of them,
That's
which
just
is like
insane.
Oh my god.
which is like fucking crazy.
And
Yeah, and
he teams with his brother, who's
like
not
good that people
pro.
forget. Yeah, I think whenever they enter teams, they've won 20, like they've entered like 27 competitions like since X amount of years. They've won 20 of the last 27 competitions they entered. So
Jeez.
it's just fucking crazy.
Dominant.
It said across 39 majors tournaments he's played in since 2009. He's placed top 4 or won 21 of those tournaments. Like
Yeah, it's domination, man. Like that's like not even
Yeah,
the stats
that's
are
like
very much on the
0
side.
2015 levels of domination.
yeah, and Armada did it over a period of like years, because there is a period of time where like I think Armada is one of the few players that like was number 1 for a while, kind of fell back a little bit. He took the backseat to Mango in like the early like
Well, he
2010s or
retired also. This is actually his second retirement. He retired in 2013 as well.
Yeah, and then he came back, and then he was fucking beating everybody again. And then he had that like really good stretch for like 3 or Hungrybox kind of figured it out. And and as you see this past year, like he's losing, not seeing Armada in like a finals like situation, like getting eliminated at like 4th place or like something crazy like that, or like it's jarring, and it's gonna be different. So just thought I'd throw some numbers at that.
I do wonder though, if Armada, if we're gonna see him in Ultimate, I kind of have a feeling that we might, almost because it makes too much sense, especially when you do throw out the statistics like that.
Yeah, why did he retire? I don't even know.
He put out a video. I think it's kind of a long video. It's like 10-ish minutes long.
It's a motivation.
Basically, he just doesn't enjoy it. He's not really motivated to like for anything. A lot of burnout, basically. Being on top is really hard. Jigglypuff.
Yeah, I mean, dude had to come out after like however his retirement was, and then you imagine going to a local and be like, "I'm here," and it's like you go to a major. It's like, well, I pretty much can't lose to anyone here either. You know what I mean? Like, and if you do, you give up 10 years of upsets. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There are no upsets.
Well, I mean, I will say going out at the top of your craft is definitely pretty nice. And he could definitely say he did that.
This Pokemon trainer gets kind of slapped up, though. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, to be fair, he is playing against Zero, who is
okay.
Yeah, but my man tried to shield a final smash. Even my cousin knows not to do that.
That's fair. I mean, I guess he's gonna have quite a bit of learning.
Armada doesn't come from that era.
What do you mean I could not wave dash away from that?
He saw the Smash Ball. What is that?
Well, hey guys, let's say we move on to some locals here, because we've been on the topic of Smash's future for quite some time now, and there actually was some interesting stuff. Not the same old brackets this weekend, and I would say probably one of the better things that I saw. I was actually watching this live. was why do bad things happen to good people? Finally takes down Juice, who has been a demon for him. He took him down at last week's Bears. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with why do bad things happen to good people, which is actually his tag, he is a product of Philly. He does travel around a little bit. He's placed pretty well at some New York tournaments. He's placed very well at even a few Platinums in New Jersey. And he plays Cloud. He's really good. But I think he was something, I forget what the interview was after, man, this VOD is really choppy. But anyways, I think as I was watching it live and he was getting interviewed, he mentioned that I think he was like 0-12 against Juice, like in Grands or something like that.
Jeez.
And he actually he beat him up, though. I believe, here, let's see. Oh, it looks like they were in Game 5. But in either case, I think he did 2-stock him on the last game. Or actually, I have that wrong. I just watched him die. But in either case, I think it was winners finals. He beat him up pretty good. So it wasn't like he just kind of beat him. Like, it seemed convincing.
Yeah, Juice was using Corrin too. I'm surprised he actually was. I guess he goes Corrin at the locals instead, but that's still his Corrin is still pretty good actually.
No, his Corrin's
people
really
will
good.
people will trash talk him in Philly, but they've never beat it before, so they can't really say anything.
Yeah, he's won Bears with it alone. I'm not sure how many. I don't know if it's just one, but he has before.
But
Juice
took a
was
game
so
off
mad.
Jude with it too.
yeah, and
Juice
Juice
was so mad that he lost to. He was so mad that he lost Bears on Friday that he had to come steal all our money on Sunday.
Yeah,
Out there.
that for sure. Juice winning Future Sight number 2, which is, for anyone who's unfamiliar, is the tournament that bans Bayonetta, Lylat, and Dreamland. Juice showed up, a couple other guys from Philly, and then some New York showed up. And sure enough, we ended up with like a Tri-State top 3 with Juice on the top of that top 3.
I was gonna say you're forgetting somebody else showed up with stacks of money and threw it into the pot.
Oh my gosh, how do I forget? Yeah, it was such a surprise. Nairo showing up just kind of to chill and play some friendlies, and yeah, he added $200 pot bonus to this tournament just kind of out of the blue. No one knew. It just kind of happened that day. Totally a bro thing to do.
5th place.
Lifting up the curtain.
Thank you.
Yeah, all it took for me to come out was for me to leave. I was kind of keeping them.
He's like, oh, good, ML's gone.
Yeah,
I guess I'll go
what's
visit
it?
Platinum.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, I would say lifting up the curtain a little bit. Me and Hungry actually knew about this the day before.
Hey man, don't fucking.
Yeah.
Why was I put under the name?
You heard to say.
Name
We-
dropping
we-
on
we-
the track.
I gotta go.
You're outed, man. That's it.
Yeah, but shout out to Nairo, of course. It's always cool to see this because I feel like it obviously like brings out more of the competition. And this is the first time he's thrown a pot bonus and also like been in the same room as everyone. And I feel like this is probably a lot of people's like, I don't want to say their first times like meeting Nairo, but seeing him in like a local setting where like it's not as intimidating to approach him. And I heard there was stems from the weekend, and I'm really mad because Hungry literally for the entirety of Monday only said cringe compilation and wow Kyle. Like, he did not say anything else to me except those 2 words. You're like a fucking cheap at the dollar store.
You
And I was like, what the hell did I
fucking
miss?
binge compilation.
I think that's all he said on Twitter too.
I hate my life.
Well, I don't know. I woke up and was just talking some mad shit, like just Glenn being Glenn, and I just like I wanted to go through every tweet he did and just like cringe compilation. Just
Yeah, what do you mean
piss
you
him
wanted
off.
to? You did.
No, I meant like
Yeah.
even further. I wanted to do every single tweet, like from like fucking like last month. I wanted to do it, but I stopped myself at like 5.
Yeah, well, he likes every single one of them, so you're not wrong.
I mean,
Dude,
Yo,
that
when-
gets on.
he likes all the tweets he's in. But, right, so Future Sight, it's a pretty good turnout. Ralphie getting second. And Ralphie actually, I'm looking in last week's stats here. He didn't – no, I think he won the Xeno Weekly. He did. He actually took out Utopian Ray in Grands, and Stock Taker rounded out the top 3 of Xeno last week. And then there was a Xeno Monthly on Saturday. And it looks like Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought he was top 8. He wasn't. It looks like DeBuzz won that, and DeBuzz also won Aeon, excuse me, which is nothing new there.
That's a normal Long Island.
That's a pretty regular occurrence. DeBuzz won Mystery 2, and then shout outs to Jay, who did actually come to Future Site, looking like he got 3rd at Aeon Weekly. But yeah, so those are like
and I do want to give.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to give a quick shout out to Juke. There's 2 things I want to bring up. People are probably gonna like look at this and be like, "Huh, how can Jackal beat MKLeo but lose to Ralphie?" And I feel like it's a product of like if you play someone a lot in region, you're probably gonna get you're gonna get a good handle on their habits or whatever. And number 2, shout outs to Jude for actually beating the Rosalinas this time because he's beaten 2 people he's never beaten before.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty sure
true.
He's never taken a set off of Ray, and I'm
No, he has beaten Ray before.
pretty sure he's never beaten. Oh, has he? I wasn't sure about that. I think it was Jay. He's only played Jay. Did he lost? I think. No, twice.
It was twice. He lost to Jay twice, and then he beat him to that one day.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I kind of feel bad for Jay sometimes because he's
I
really,
know.
really good with Rosa, but then he can't even call himself the best Rosa on Long Island just because the buzz.
Yeah, it's a shame. Actually, this was
gets overshadowed.
and he's
Bro,
good,
there's
man.
2 power ranked roses.
Yeah, he's definitely good too. I actually had never met Jay. I've seen him. I always see him in the results for Aeon, and occasionally I'll see him in Xeno results. I know he said he was a little bit of a ways from it, but I did not meet him actually till the other night, and very, very pleasant dude.
Yeah. It's funny, like ML's comparison, like bringing up the point that he can't even be like the best like Rose on Long Island. It's like it's like both it's Kate and Ashley Olsen, and then you're like Elizabeth, or you're like Fred Olsen. No one cares about you.
No one even knew
Dude,
you
I was like
existed.
thinking of so many jokes I can make off that too. I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, well, Glenn's chic is the same because I'm here," or something, some stupid like that. But I couldn't think of a good one.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, that mostly wraps up the locals. I don't know if anyone caught it. I'll show it again real quick. There was also a Spectrum yesterday, and I just want to give shout-outs to Gonz's Bayo for taking first. And then
Yay.
Get that smut.
and
Paul
Paul
suicide this week.
Baby.
and Paul Claus Little Mac for taking 5th. And KGP for taking 4th. Shout outs to KGP. Very nice. He's on that brownie hustle, selling actual brownies. Nothing funny there. For I think it was like $2.50. Man's on a hustle at his locals.
Prices went up. It's a crime.
Dude, it's inflation.
Bro, the economy. It's terrible.
Well, hey man, if someone,
$1, I swear.
it's a free market, dude. If you want to come with brownies and sell them for like $2, you can do that. Like that's a thing you can do.
I can still be angry.
Capitalism.
He has no competition, no incentive to lower those prices.
I'm gonna start making brownies. Guys.
Yeah,
That's
it's a racket, man. He's got a monopoly. It's insane.
$1 brownies. I'm in, bro.
Insane.
All your business.
Tokyo's
We're gonna
gonna
make
come
a
in with brownies next time.
Right.
Who knows what will
We're gonna
happen
be flooded on the market, dude.
No, Hungary's about to make. Hungary's like fucking Goya.
That is-
It's a fucking Latino.
I just want to see the Tokyo and KGP collab.
All right. Well, hey, so we're trying a new idea this week, and this was actually Koopa's idea, where we're gonna basically be featuring viewer questions, which I love the idea. I wasn't entirely sure what the questions were going to be, if anyone was actually going to ask questions, because I know we're still pretty young and up and coming here. But there were some questions, and there's just enough to make a segment out of it, and not enough where we probably couldn't go through all of them. So I didn't see anything too crazy up on there, but I did see some good ones.
All right.
I'm just going to go down the line. I'm going to have them on the screen so you guys will be able to see them as well. But I guess before I go off on that, did you guys see anything on there that you want to address immediately that you thought was like a really good question?
Stop asking me to be on the podcasting suck.
Yeah, we'll get there. So the first one, the very first 2 questions asked were like the classic ones that you hear and you're just kind of like, okay, great question. The first one
memes.
coming from LS, actually as Dilla, asking, am I going to be on the PR? And I mean, it's a good question, man. You get good results, and you do a good job. I guess just go to more monthlies and just like be good there, and you'll probably be on the PR.
Yeah, school's kind of cooking right now because he goes to Rowan as well, and Rowan's really far out of the way down south. It's actually closer to Salty. It's the only thing that's close to Salty. So
Yeah, that's
to
rough.
get to Rowan from Platinum, it's like almost an hour. That's the life that we live down there.
How far is
I don't know
Rowan?
why it's funny, but it's actually the only thing that's close to Salty.
It's true, dude. Dude, literally, Salty when Salty still go, it only took like 20 minutes down the highway. Go in there, 8-man bracket, get third, get fourth, right in the middle. It's nice.
So,
Magic 8 Ball says ask later.
yeah, I think that's a smart 8 ball. But I did see a few new events popping up in the South. One being a weekly, which is I guess a little unfortunate for the cause, just because the weeklies don't count as much as the monthlies these days. But I mean, either way, just keep going, keep playing, and keep getting wins, man. And that's the PR.
I'll plug here for Rowan. Bi-weeklies on Friday. I don't know where they hold them now, but yeah, they're there. They're a South Jersey thing. If you live near Glassboro, they're only $5 to enter.
Yeah, man, go take a trip there. There's some stuff there. But and you said those are bi-weeklies, by the way?
Yeah, they're bi-weeklies every other Friday.
Which does mean
I think Rutgers Camden also does bi-weeklies as well. Or maybe weeklies.
I think you're right about that, and I think they actually coordinate quite a bit. I'm seeing Rutgers Camden and Rowan recently, which is great. And so yeah, if you do want to be on the PR and you do live in South Jersey, hit up those bi-weeklies, because bi-weeklies count more than regular weeklies. Not as much as monthlies, but definitely more than weeklies. So just go to those and play well. But moving on, we do have Jack says, why haven't I been a guest on the podcast? And I feel like your question basically answers itself. Just can't ask, man. It might not make sense yet, but
right.
I'm also not sure if the Discord app has been released on the Leapfrog tablets as of yet.
Damn, get roasted.
Yeah, we need to write the podcast machine. Oh man.
And then moving on, we do have Bantam Black. Shout outs to Bantam Black for checking us out every week and actually engaging with us and using the appropriate format with the hashtag GlovesOffPod. When Ultimate comes out, a lot of new people will be entering their first Smash tournament. How do you motivate them to stick around after getting bodied? I actually love this question, quite honestly, because there's few things that feel worse than going 0-2 at a tournament. And, yeah. So I do think, though, that with the Switch and with Ultimate, I'm kind of looking at Smash tournaments as like just ways for people to get together, which was always the intention, and play video games. And it was always kind of hard in like any other past Smash tournaments with past consoles, GameCube and Wii U, because you're kind of bound to the HD, or I'm sorry, to like a monitor. Whereas like the Switch is pretty portable. I kind of anticipate a lot of tournaments, especially weeklies, turning more into like Switch get-togethers that feature like a Smash tournament bracket. I do really think that just with the technology of the system, that the overall enjoyment and offerings of like an event will be much better than they've ever been. I mean, that's what I think. I don't know if any of the other guys.
I think that, well, for me, when I got bodied, I just started commentating, and that worked out pretty well. So if you feel like you're comfortable talking on a mic, or you want to get better at commentating, just find open times. Obviously, if they're at like grand finals and there's 2 people already there, you likely won't get on. But if there's like early rounds, round 1, round 2, even doubles, because no one likes commentating doubles, that if you can find a time to get on there, then that's definitely a good choice to go for if you don't see yourself working out well as a player.
And that's good advice, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna echo the same sentiments. Like, if you have the drive to compete, then you're not gonna be discouraged by losing. But obviously, like, my advice would be, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're not, like, I hate, or like back when I was like still kind of new in the scene, and I would lose. I'd hate it when they give me advice without me asking for it. like of mine.
Mhm.
Just personally, have the drive to get better. Then like just don't be afraid to ask questions about it. Be like, hey, like what did I do here? Yada yada yada, and just adding like everybody. So like if playing isn't for you, try commentating. If you don't like to talk, but you're really good at organizing stuff, then maybe start opening up your own to help run brackets or whatever. Like, there's always a home for somebody in the scene. Like, as long as you're not a dick about it. So, yeah, it's just all about just I think we as going into a new scene. I think this is like the fourth straight episode we're bringing it up, but like there's gonna be a lot of new people coming around. Like obviously, like the question stated. So I think it's important for us as an already existing community to kind of usher in the new kids and have them feel welcome. Unless
Yeah.
you're hungry, don't talk to him.
I'm gonna make sure I campaign people
no.
like, yo, you better be real nice.
Yeah, we're the nice police.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and when we roast each other, when we're dicks to each other, it's because we know each other. You can't be a dick to someone you don't know because then you're just
Because then you're just rude
That's-
at that point.
Yeah, then you're just
yeah.
then you're just a dick.
Just being
if
rude.
if someone who doesn't know Glenn walks up to Glenn and says, "Yo, dude, I saw you in Law's video. You suck. Ha 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 ha." That you're just an asshole. Why would you do that?
You're a god. What are you talking about?
All right, so
All right, you're a god in Law's eyes, but to 99% of the Smash community, you're kind of a dick.
And the other 1%, you're a legend.
Yeah, you're spitzy.
all right, so I see Law posting a question in here that I'm gonna let you answer. I'm gonna let you answer your own question.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk
Let's
about
go.
it.
Go there.
Off the podcast. Not off the podcast.
I'm just
Next question. Next question. Next question.
Oh no! We're not
Next
supposed to talk about this. Nuke the VOD. Nuke the VOD. We're done here.
all right. Well, I don't know about nuking the VOD, but what we can do.
I think only 4 or 5 people know the answer to that question.
It's true. It'll be a small
Only
population.
4 or 5 people know the question.
That's true. That's even more true.
That's a better way to word it.
All right, so moving on.
All right.
Yeah, we shout out Sagoda writing a very wholesome question. What's your favorite thing about New Jersey Smash? Let's see. There's a lot of things to like for sure. I guess bottom line is I kind of just think at this point we've become such a unique region, and I feel like it's come from like the shambles of like what used to be like a powerhouse of a region that people kind of counted out, and I feel like it's sort of making its own unique name for itself now, and that's kind of my favorite part about it personally.
My favorite part is you, Goda. My second favorite is that everyone, like, when we did that thing for Brewski, and he posted that thing, like, I think it was just I'm not sure if he made it too long for, like, after we finished that GoFundMe for him. But after we did that, and then he posted, like, a little thing, like, oh, my mom said this. Like, that was, like, I was like, damn, like, we really can, this is what it's all about, kind of. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you make actual friends, and something similar happened with Badges not that long ago, where his family fell in some hard times through a little bit of a GoFundMe fundraiser kind of page, and it did well. Everyone's very supportive of one another around here. So, yeah,
100%.
I don't know if that happens in other scenes, but I've seen that happen in the New Jersey scene more than once and more than twice. So to me, that, you know what? Yeah, that's a great point. That's kind of an amazing thing, and that sort of feels good to know that even exists, like within a competitive video game forum. So yeah, I guess that's. Does anyone else have any favorite things about New Jersey Smash?
Probably
I don't
just
know.
the
I think
same
we have a
thing
lot
about
of
how
personality.
close everyone is. Yeah, personality. Everyone knows each other pretty much because we're a small state. So it takes 3 hours to get from point to point, which isn't really that long at all for a state. So I feel like since everyone lives within like an hour of each other, we all get to kind of know each other a lot better than other scenes would.
Yeah, it's true. New Jersey's like big and it's small at the same time. It's big in a sense where there's a lot of people in it, and there's a long enough drive from the tip of south to the tip of north, but it's not too big like California where you have like northern and southern, and within those that's still like 8-hour drives from bottom to top. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
kind of it's a pretty good The size of New Jersey loans itself pretty well to everyone getting to know each other, definitely.
Yeah, because earlier when I
Yeah.
said from Rowan to Platinum Star is like an hour 30, if I can find a tournament within an hour 30 of me down in North Carolina, I'll be on like, fuck yeah, I'm going to that. Because where I live, there's this region, it's like the Triangle. It's like Raleigh, Durham, and some other city. I forget the name of it, but that's almost 2.5 hours away from me, where a lot of the in the state. So don't take an hour 30 for granted. Please go to everything you can in New Jersey.
Yeah, man.
It's a lot closer than you think.
Yeah, just to kind of like add on to what you guys said, like especially now, I feel like in the beginning, like after all like the heavy hitters left, I feel like we kind of like we had to all kind of learn to like be like to cross over because there still wasn't a whole lot of that. And now that we do, like Matt said, like we're all friends, and I really appreciate that. And like some of my favorite moments, like especially like when Hitbox was a thing, but like just going out to eat and just like chilling to like the late hours of the night. Those are some of my favorite things. Just like hanging out with people and the friends that I've made. Like that's probably my favorite part, outside of just like everything else. That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Wholesome question. Speaking of wholesome questions, Delta submitting, plain and simple, how are you? I'm doing well, Delta. That was actually very nice. People don't usually often think to like ask the other end, like it's like, hey, ask us questions, but they don't ever think to check on the well-being. But doing well, man. Thanks for asking. Let's see. What else?
I got nothing.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's very, very nice. And this is a good one. And I don't want to cut off the segment to to show the trailer, but there was a new tournament announced. It's basically in lieu or in conjunction with Platinum Star 11, which is the Platinum Star Monthly, the first Saturday of every month, is also going to be a Mr. M event, which is the MHG Awards, where there will be basically categories and awards to commemorate essentially Smash 4's history in New Jersey and Master Gaming's history in New Jersey and all the above. And he is asking, what are some categories that you would be interested in seeing for the MHG Awards? I'm actually going to let someone else start on this one. I don't know.
I think best upset.
Oh man, there's a few I could think of already.
Upset.
Yeah,
if
there's
we
a
get
lot of
like
good
3
ones.
nominees for each category.
Yeah.
One thing that Dylan asked me about, or Biddy, yesterday, I think, he was like, he's like, I just hope it's not going to be most improved player or whatever we're not going to go in that direction, I don't believe, because egos, but the moments stuff, like best upset, that's going to be cool to do because you have a moment and like you know what I mean? An event.
Yeah.
All of these things. Personally, I'd like to see best gimp on Ralphie at Smash Quest, but
It was a nice game.
Surprise.
It was
At
good.
Smash Quest 1, he got destroyed off stage.
Yeah.
But,
I think all right. I got 2 things. Unless you still finishing? My bad.
on me now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The basic like award, like if you want to like do like the MHG, look for like best moment on comment or cam reactions, because there's one instance that I remember for the final cutters. Rocks is at like 30.
MHG Award worst connection, Koopa.
yeah, dude, your connection it's been a little spotty throughout.
I thought it was just me.
No. You've been kind of breaking up throughout, but then like this was like probably the worst case of breakup.
I thought it was me. I just couldn't hear him. I'm like, well, my connection's fucked.
Yeah, same. My ping's been going all over the place.
Yeah, I think it's just Discord today. Unfortunately, it seems to be a little bit all over the place. It's been a little bit of a bane to the existence of this current venture. But what I think I gathered from some of the broken up Koopa things was
He heard us.
was essentially the I guess best moments on commentary, and I think what he was mentioning was a particular set where I actually didn't hear the particular set, but I guess there was it was a Roxas set where I think he took someone out really early, and I guess there was a pretty extreme reaction on commentary. And I actually do think that would be a good category, quite honestly. Commentary stuff is very underrated. And that's like a big part of like the content of a VOD, like if it's good. And I think a lot of people don't realize it because like there isn't always good commentary in Smash VODs, but when there is, it makes a very big difference. So I would definitely love to see.
Compare commentary.
What would you compare commentary to?
Comparing to offensive line play in the NS, because when the offensive line does their job well, you never hear from them.
Oh,
But
yeah.
then when they're bad, you always hear about it.
It's the truth, man.
So,
You'll see the running backs have like really big plays, aka the VOD's doing really well if like the line is doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I think that's a pretty good analogy to a bunch of people.
Yeah, but also like if there's good commentators, you never see anyone talking about the commentators. But when there's bad commentators, it's always this commentator sucks. Get them off. They're bad. Whatever.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a struggle, but in either case, I do think it would make a good category. Commentator stuff, best upsets is always a fun thing, and I don't know. There's been some pretty fun crew battles throughout the time, like kind of sporadically. I would love to see some of those like shouted out. Someone was circulating the
You know which one's going in that one.
Yeah, dude, absolutely because I've been seeing it circulate. It was basically the 8 on the break versus what was it? 8 on the break versus GT was the VOD.
Versus GT.
Yeah.
And
Let's go through the work of editing Richie's face out though. I mean,
wait.
Put a censor, blur it out.
Ricky.
Yeah, man. But so I'll be looking forward to see what categories do actually come up. I would imagine there's probably going to be quite a few of them that we'll see. Because there's been a lot that happened over the past couple years here. A lot of stuff definitely worth highlighting within an award show, definitely. But moving on.
Best play is also kind of one of those two that also pops up like, oh, best play with X character or just best play in general.
Yeah, I mean it'll be tricky.
Low tier moment, something like that.
Yeah, something like that would be good. Character specific. I don't want to get too like. Personally, I wouldn't want to get too subjective on players. Want to try and keep the tone more fun than anything else versus more like competitive. Because I think the spirit of the show is supposed to be fun, at least from what I could see.
One idea I had was like a best what the fuck moment. Like it's Smash, crazy shit happens. So like, just like what's the best like in like a tournament in New Jersey? Like what's the most crazy shit that's happened? Like where like nobody knows it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're trying to say, and I think I could already think of things off the top of my head for that.
Yeah, it's also good because I'm gonna be doing the nomination like videos, like kind of like the Grammys or whatever they show each one. So it's like with those, it's like when you have like 5 good stupid WTF moments for the nominations, like no one really cares who wins. It's just cool to see that that are just like, what? I forgot when that happened in 2016. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be essentially nomination videos. I'm actually pretty excited to see that. That sounds great.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was hoping for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
that will be there.
That's going to be awesome. So for anyone looking forward to that, it's not being advertised quite yet because, let's see, what's the first weekend? Yeah, that's going to be November 3rd. Mark it on your calendar. That's actually going to be the last Platinum Star Monthly for Smash 4 before Ultimate comes out. So it's actually a perfect time to do it. All right, so let's see. And I will show that later before we break today, probably. But next question being, who are your picks for hidden bosses, Area 51, that don't get as much recognition as they deserve? There's a few of them, and I feel like most notably, and I feel like I bring Delta up every time this question comes up, but like he has basically solidified himself as like 5th place, meaning that he'll beat pretty much anyone except for the guys he doesn't beat, which would be like your Jameses and your Gonzes and probably Law. I'm sure you probably you might have a positive record against him. But then,
I got bodied by him 3 times in a row.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Never mind.
At least he admitted it.
But I played Fox at Future Sight, and he said, "How are you?" in this reply. I just want to ask him how he is because after that, I'm not sure he's okay.
Oh no.
No, I just wanted to say that. I didn't. That's why I didn't say that earlier. Now I wanted to squeeze that in because I'm an idiot.
It was good, man. I appreciated it.
I'm back now. How do I sound?
Yo,
A lot
for this one, I got
Thank
Hypest
God.
Town. Hypest Town is Most underrated player in Jersey right now. I tweeted that. Dude is so good.
I don't even know who that is. So
He's a
there you go.
warrior
Bro,
player.
Dude, he's been.
I'm not gonna tell you. I'll let you figure out by yourself when you run into a bracket and you have to play against a Warrior
Never gonna
player.
play him.
Oh my
It's not gonna
god.
happen.
Dude, if you go to a Rutgers event, you'll see him there. I'm pretty sure I've seen him at every Rutgers event I've streamed so far on stream, and yeah, he is pretty good, man.
Does he go to Rutgers or does he go to TCNJ? Because I think I've seen him at Japes too.
You probably did. He goes to a lot of
Yeah,
the
he's been
college
at Japes
tournaments.
before.
I'm gonna see if I could. But yeah, in the meantime, what other hidden bosses? Maverick Hunter obviously comes to mind. I know he hasn't had the
Yeah, I don't
greatest
think he's-
recent record, but like he's definitely dominated some people.
Yeah,
in his time.
he's not as hidden anymore. I think Crowding Movie is still someone people forget a lot about. Boost brother.
Oh yeah, because he doesn't get to
The
go to
Mario
much.
about
But you're right. Crowding Movie is actually super good.
Yeah, he's one of the smartest Marios that I've ever played. And I remember at one of the One More games that we both were at, he 3-0'd Biddy and just destroyed him. Like, bodied his Toon Link and Biddy switched to Falcon and got even more destroyed. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get bodied that hard before. It was bad.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where it's like he might not necessarily like he'll either take you to a close set or he just kind of like beats up on you. I have seen him like obliterate some people before.
Yeah, he's kind of just in that like region by Salty. He lives in Vineland where he's too far from everything. But he actually almost beat James before too. He went game 3 with him at one of the Salty events. I forget what it was. It wasn't the GG James. It was the other one.
Mhm.
I can't remember the name of.
It was just a boost, not Booski.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yes.
Yeah, he almost beat James at that one.
Anyone else come to mind when you think of hidden bosses in New Jersey?
Dilla's pretty good.
No, that's true. That is very true. And we saw Dilla asking when he was going to be on the PR earlier in that comment thread. Probably debatably could have almost been on the PR. Maybe just didn't quite have the wins last season compared to say Jack, who just got 15th. But yeah, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with Ryu.
Yeah, and I mean it's the end of the meta. There's not many of these guys are hidden. Like we all kind of know Jack. Like we all know what you're talking about, but Hungry doesn't know who Hypest Town is yet. That's pretty good.
I don't even know where he goes. Like, what tournaments does he
Yeah, he
go
goes to Rutgers now, so
So
I think I'm gonna go to a Friday bi-weekly just to play him again.
what does he play?
Who
Wario.
does he play? He plays Wario.
I'm
Yeah,
definitely
it's the
gonna
only
lose.
problem.
man.
That's why-
Yeah, you're gonna get wafted at 40.
I'm definitely gonna lose, man. I hate
I'm good,
Warriors
man.
so much.
I'm good.
All right, so moving
I just
on.
say thank you.
Moving on, Haven asking, do you guys have any plans for an MHG tournament venue near, let's say, The Break, Spectrum, Smash Frenzy, etc.? Please. Well,
No.
yeah, I mean, sure. That would be the short answer. Would be no. There's been some mention of an MHG weekly that I don't know if it really be like a Smash dedicated weekly in Platinum if people dug it. But the bottom line is weeklies don't count as much as other events do, and there's already so many of them, especially ones like the Break and Spectrum are already kind of in Central Jersey. I don't really want to keep flooding like the schedule with more Central Jersey events, mostly because the other guys need some events, being North and South Jersey. But I mean, it's always possible, and there are a couple of venues I know of right now in North Jersey and maybe even South that are looking to start weeklies. Whether they'll be MHG related or not, I'll probably just help them market. Maybe eventually down the road I could help them with the stream, whatever. But at the moment, just kind of taking it as it comes.
Yeah, I think something that like gets overlooked a lot when trying to organize events is that venue space is kind of hard to come by in the tri-state area. So, yeah, it's like Chris said, short answer, no, but we're working on it. Stay tuned. Breaking
Long
news.
answer, no.
Fantastic. All right, so
You're an idiot. Who said that?
Yeah.
all right, so moving on. Fusion Smash asks, well, this actually looks more like a declarative than it does a question. We should have a tournament with the best 2 players of each category play each other, and then have the winner of each set play in a top bracket, and the person that lost the set is eliminated. Hold on.
It sounds too complicated.
Where's the question?
Yeah, I don't follow that. That sounds like a normal tournament.
It does kind of like a normal tournament, but I will say one thing, especially when weeklies do start to vamp up a little bit. I heard through the wave. I don't really have any particulars or can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. There is going to be something with with weeklies where essentially there might be like an invitational based on weeklies. And this is an idea that's kind of been teased. I don't really have any direct relationship to it, but it might not be the best two players of each character. But like, you might be able to see something like the best couple players per like each like weekly event might end up facing off against each other or something like that. Might be the closest answer I have.
The way that you just worded that was really funny because like an invitational for weekly sounds like I just picture like an invitational like a Chuck E. Cheese or something.
I mean, well, thanks for ruining the entire plan. I appreciate that. That part was supposed to be a surprise.
Don't spoil it.
Instead of a summit invitational with this nice house in California, you just go down to your local Chuck E. Cheese.
This fucking shitty ass pizza.
All right, so next question. All right, asking, how do you feel about redemption brackets and their impact? Positive, negative? Is there anything you would change about that or how they're run? I actually really like redemption brackets a lot. I think it kind of helps you get, like your quote unquote your money's worth for an event. So that way, like if you do go 0-2 or even like I think we even do our redemption brackets at Platinum Star if you go 2-2, I believe, where you just get more matches out of it for your venue fee. And it's kind of for like, there's no reason why not, right? So it's like sometimes it's hard to find friendlies. And if you're a newer player especially, you get a little shy to ask. So if there's a whole nother bracket, it automatically puts you, one, into another bracket where you're getting more matches, and two, in the position to meet more players. Ones that might even be more on your level because it's also other players who had a rough bracket run. So I actually really like them, and I hope that more tournaments do them moving forward.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Unless redemption brackets are cool, but don't be that guy that leans into wanting a redemption bracket at every tournament you go to, because like it becomes like really really stale. And number two, redemption brackets are fun unless you're me and you have to play the same guy your first round in both brackets.
Yeah, that happened to me before. I lost the Maverick
Jeez.
bracket, played him in redemption round one, lost to him again.
So I guess that falls
Yeah.
under the category of not necessarily liking how they're run. And I'm not sure what the optimal way to run a redemption bracket is. I think that's like an idea that can improve over time, and with like a sample size of past redemption brackets. But yeah, I generally like them.
Yeah, that sounds like a lack of care. I feel like maybe Alri's kind of making a point, like maybe TO should care a little bit more about redemption brackets, because you guys, I guess there's no phase where they're like, all right, check your brackets. You know what I mean? Because
It just kind of
Just
gets
redemption.
thrown together, and I could agree with that. And I think even speaking for Platinum, I think sometimes you get a little shorthanded on running events, but like I think if you were to like plan for it a little better, we could definitely run it a lot better. But let's see, we're getting towards the
Yeah,
end here. Go ahead, ML.
I was gonna say, like, if you're running a big tournament like Future Side, I guess it only had 37 this time, but the first one had almost 70. If you're running redemption for almost 70 people, you're basically running another like 30-person bracket
Yep,
alongside the main tournament, and that's just sometimes way too much time.
I agree with that.
And then if you have a smaller tournament, then you're only running a bracket with about like 10 people, and you're gonna probably face someone who you lost to already.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it might be worth basically under this amount of entrants we run a redemption bracket, over this amount of entrants we don't, or something to that effect. I think there's definitely work to be done there. That's also the truth. But last question from I love this name, Infamous Zero, New Jersey, asking, how do you feel the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate? How do you feel the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate scene will be directly after launch? Which is a great question, and it was kind of the topic
Super
of this
Mario
episode.
Bros.
But I think it's going to be kind of like the Wild West to start, because there's no set rule set. There's going to be people trying to push a set rule set, and not everyone's going to be on that wave, and then we're going to see a lot of places that have never thrown Smash tournaments, run tournaments, and at the very least, I think there will be a lot of players out. This is a good question. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think the scene's going to be directly, or like right after launch? What do you think it's going to be like?
I think that right now in our heads we're thinking that like the game's gonna come out and then a week later it's gonna be like a million entrants. I think it's gonna take a month or two at least to get people coming out, and then in summer, when summer hits, that's when it's like the storm is coming. Like that's
Yeah,
gonna be the big deal.
that's summer, man. It's gonna be the first real test with all the amount of people that are gonna be coming in.
Yeah, I think that's when I went to my first Smash 4 tournament. Even though I could only go to one every like 5 months, I made it to one in the summer, and that was like my first one.
Well,
Yeah. What's it good? Oh, my bad.
no, you're good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the games get like to echo what they said. The winter time's gonna be a little bit harder, but the game itself is gonna be fucking like just gonna be something stupidly broken. Whatever this game's Diddy's hoo-ha's gonna be, it's gonna be fucking disgusting for like the first like month and a half of the game until like the meta develops. So
Oh yeah.
just like don't expect all your problems to be solved as soon as the game comes out, because there's just gonna be something else to complain about. Like I'm looking squarely at the Belmonts and being like, how many minutes is it gonna take me to hate this whip? And I'm gonna say approximately 19.
I'm gonna say 18.
Yeah, I just think that the early part of the game, I've already kind of like mentally laid this whole thing out. No tournament should count, no PR, no PGR bullshit, none of that. Just kind of global testing period. Every region does their own thing, see how it all works out, and then right as Genesis comes, that's going to be the first important tournament to lay down a ground rule set, stages, timers, stock, all that shit. We're going to see who's the best at that tournament, who's really good, what character's broken, what tactics are good, how we should be playing the game optimally. So I think that up until Genesis, it's just going to be kind of nuts, and we just really need to focus on testing a lot of things at tournaments before we can really take off with the game.
Mm-hmm. It's also gonna be weird because those guys that are running Genesis are gonna have a ton of power. Like,
Yeah,
what if they
probably.
just decide that three characters should be banned? You know what I mean? Like, as an exaggerated example, like they could just determine the rule set for the rest of the year if there's not an organized group working together.
Yeah, there's kind of that whole Smash Illuminati thing that everyone jokes about, but it's a real thing, man. Smash Illuminati, they got a lot more power than people think they have when it comes to the rule sets. That's why I feel like it's important for every kind of differently have a real good established type of leadership so that everyone can have everything. So that, like, say, this large region, SoCal and Tristate and Texas and Midwest and Florida, those are like the biggest areas with the like densest amount of people. However, they all do things. If they all do things commonly, maybe we take the best aspect of each thing and put it there, something like that.
The one thing I think could be unique, and I mentioned this for like several episodes ago, I think it may have been like the first episode when we're talking about rule sets, is what ML just mentioned about having each region do their own thing. I would love to see, and then sort of like trial and error, compare results, and see what you come up with. But like with all the tournaments that are inevitably going to be around, and with all the people just getting into the tournament scene in general from like an organizer perspective, I would just like to see varying rule sets even per region. Like, why not? Just try everything out and get all the feedback you can. There's really no reason to like have like a try hard sort of rule set and PR setting like right off the bat. It almost seems like that would be worse for people.
Shout out to Texas, still doing 3 stocks, almost 4 years into Smash 4's life.
Yeah.
Give me 3 stocks. What?
Biddy told me that he was in Texas last week, and he told me that Megafox.
Wait, what?
Biddy told me that he was in Texas last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Megafox Biddy was like, yo, this guy's really good. Like, he's actually better than a lot of the Foxes, I think. And he's like, Megafox apparently went out of the state like once and then lost to somebody in 2 stocks. And he's just like, I'm never going out of state again. And because he just like, so he never did for like 2 years.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw him out of state was at Big House 5.
Jesus.
He's
Texas is like the elephant graveyard of Smash.
Oh man, well that's gonna wrap it up for #GlovesOffPod. And if you guys like this section, make sure you let us know. I actually kind of like that section. If you guys keep having questions and they keep being good, This is actually a pretty fun segment, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But all right, so we're kind of at that time of the night where we're about to finish. I do want to point out a couple tournaments coming up before I cut the cast here, with most notably this weekend. Hold on, let me go ahead and get the ad slide prepared. Is going to be the brand new monthly in North New Jersey in Rochelle Park in an antiques mall. Pretty cool place called Stock Advantage. This tournament actually is going to have Melee in addition to Smash 4. And it's because the organizers there have like 20 Melee setups, so there's kind of like no reason not to. And then obviously,
You guys thought Melee was dying.
yeah. Remember when I told you I knew about like podcasters and like clubs that are like gaming preservationists? Well, Team One Up 'em is one of them. So we'll see. I'm actually interested to see how this does when Ultimate does come out and we're running Ultimate Tournament and Smash Melee, because I think that'll even be like a nice little internal indicator for us to use just to see if any interest does remain for Melee. But yeah, in either case, this is going to be this Sunday. If you could make it out, definitely come. It's a really cool setting. They have everything from like high-end Marvel statues to like Magic cards to like old furniture to pops, to everything, comic books. Pretty cool spot. And then the next Platinum Star event is going to be Platinum Star 10, and that's going to be October 6th, which would be the first Saturday of the month, and it's going to feature Rivals of Aether and Slap City this month. Rivals, actually, the bracket already filling in. I think there's already like half a dozen entrants, if not a dozen, in the tournaments, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, right? So that's going to be next week. And I guess
That's awesome.
I guess that's kind of it. That's kind of all I got. There are other events slated. There is Platinum Star 11 we talked about. That's going to fall in the normal monthly spot. That's going to be the MHD Awards. There is going to be another Starcadian that's going to have a very special theme to it. You guys could expect to hear more about that in the coming week. That's going to be the same weekend as Overclocked, but the idea is probably some of the better players in this area will probably be traveling up there, so an Arcadian will be kind of nice for us locals to hang out with. But again, more details on that coming up in the future. But yeah, that's all I got. You guys got anything before we leave?
I hate
Support
my
your local
internet.
streamers.
Internet hatred,
Yeah.
support your local streamers.
Oh yeah, I just
definitely.
wanted to say a few things. I wanted to say new Kanye album Saturday.
Ooh.
Nurmagomedov made off next Saturday after that. So those are the
Support
things
your
I'm
local
looking forward
Kanye.
weeks. Support your local Kanye. Support your local
Turn
UFC.
twitch.tv/Bizarre Game Studios on Saturday. I'll be at the bi-weekly.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
that
last
is
one
good.
kind of got cucked by the hurricane.
Do me a
Yeah, tweet that out. I'll retweet.
Yeah, definitely retweet that out, and I'll probably even
Yeah.
drop the link in the streamer section when it goes live. Just let me know about that, so you start branching out a little bit. Since we
Sick.
do miss you
I just
here,
hope
ML.
people.
We missed your top 8 casting. We had a taste of it without it. Law kind of held it down, but it's just not the same without you, man.
Yeah, man, I could tell me and Koopa not being there. People
Feels
were
bad.
missing out.
But yeah,
But I actually haven't casted anything in like over a month. I think that last Platinum Star in August was the last thing I commentated at.
Oh God.
wow, that was a while ago, huh?
And,
Well, all right. I guess we'll cut off here. We're gonna go ahead and host Xeno because they're probably, I would imagine, they gotta be either in semis or some part of top 8. But you guys can enjoy that. We're gonna be out of here again. As always, if you have any topics you'd like to see covered, you could go ahead and tweet at us. You could go ahead and reach us in Discord. We have a whole section within New Jersey Discord about this podcast. Don't be shy. Ask questions. Give feedback. It's really helpful. If you're liking these things, every kind of share or like, thumbs up, all those things, they really do go a long way. But with that, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.